Good morning, Clinton College student, faculty, staff, alumni, and friends. My name is Elijah Rogers. I am a junior here at Clinton College, and I'm from the holy city of Charleston, South Carolina. I am also a member of the cheerleading squad here at Clinton College. Welcome to the 10th installment of the Spring 22 Virtual Beacon Forum series of Clinton College. The purpose of our Beacon Forum series is to bring together our campus community each Wednesday during the academic year from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon for a time of inspiration, education, fellowship. Beacon Forum exposes our Clinton College family to a variety of thought leaders, change agents, creatives, and innovators who embody one or more of our core values: scholarship, servant leadership, social change, and spirituality. Beacon Forum gives us an opportunity to have meaningful conversations with each other and professionals who make a difference in our world. One of our hallmarks of our Beacon Forum series is the question and answer dialogue between our students and viewing audience with our guest speaker. We encourage all of you, especially our Clinton College students, to actively participate in today's Q&A segment led by Dr. President Lester McCord. Share your questions and reflections in the comments throughout today's event, especially during the Q&A. We want your input. We are delighted to have as our featured speaker today, Mrs. Jackie McWilliams, Commissioner of the Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association, also known as the CIAA. On behalf of the entire Clinton College family, we thank you to our friends from the community for spending part of your day with us. Be sure to follow our social media platforms for updates on future events, new academic programs, course offerings, and other activities. We hope you will enjoy today's broadcast.
Good morning, Clinton College family. I am going to give you our invocation for this morning. Again, thank you so much for joining us. So if you'll go with me in prayer. Father, praise you. We praise you for this event and your purpose for it. We know that when we gather together, you always have a divine agenda. We love you for that, Father, that even when we've done what you've asked, the results are so much greater than what we could ever imagine. Even in our failed attempts, you blow us away with your faithfulness to provide what we need. Our prayer today, Lord, is that your will be done through this event. Take what we have prepared and multiply our efforts as only you can. Steer our intentions to align with your righteous will. Remind us of your faithfulness, provisions when our efforts fail us or fall short. May all glory go up to you when we reach the finish line and climb over benchmarks. Blanket us with your peace today. Father, keep us physically safe and guard our hearts and minds from pride and selfishness. Keep love at the forefront of our minds today and the guiding light for all we set out to accomplish and celebrate. And we ask that you be with our speaker today as she brings words of wisdom to our students, faculty, and staff. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Hi, my name is Akeja Green. I'm from Ocala, Florida. I will be going to Clinton College for my bachelor's degree to major in business, and I will be singing a medley with two songs called Give Me You and Falling in Love with Jesus, because I believe those two songs really connect with each other in a spiritual way, because if you asking God to really give you and you pleading, you asking, you continuously doing it, you begin to fall in love with him. So those are the reasons why I'll be singing those songs. All right, so here we go. Give me you. Everything else can wait. Give me you. I hope it's not too late. Lord, give me you. Lord, give me you. Lord, give me you. Lord, give me you. Give me you. Everything else can wait. Give me you. I hope it's not too late. Whoa, falling in love with Jesus, my falling in love with Jesus, falling in love with Jesus is the best thing I've ever done. In his arms, I feel protected, yeah. In his arms, I'm never disconnected. In his arms, I feel protected, 'cause there is no place I'd rather be. So give me you, and everything else can wait. Give me you, I hope it's not too late. Give me you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Nikisha. I hope those of you that are listening, that is just a testimony to the type of students that we have at Clinton College. And Nikisha is a member of our women's national championship team. And we're just so grateful that she shared her talent with us this morning. I'm sorry, she is a member of our EMAC conference championship team, but our team did go to the nationals this year, and we're grateful for all that they've done for our school. So again, thank you so much for that beautiful song. Now that I have the pleasure to introduce to you a trailblazer, a history maker, glad to call her my friend, my sister, Miss Jackie McWilliams, who will bring words of wisdom to us this morning. Ms. Williams is in her 7th season of serving as the Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association Commissioner, better known as the CIAA. She is the first female to serve as commissioner for the CIAA and first appointed African-American commissioner out of 100 conferences representing the NCAA Division 1, 2, and 3. Ms. McWilliams spent 9 years as the NCAA, managing NCAA championships to include both the men and women's Division I basketball tournaments. Ms. McWilliams earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology from Hampton University and a Master's of Arts, Sports Management and Administration degree from Temple University. She is also a member of the Hampton University 1988 NCAA Division II Women's Basketball Championship team. She was inducted into Temple University's Gallery of Success. She has received numerous awards, and if I went on to tell them, we take up all of our time, but we are so happy and grateful to have Miss McWilliams bring us words of wisdom, and I'm going to turn it over to Miss McWilliams today.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Brown, and thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this Beacon Forum. I tell you, listening to she's a national championship singer, in my opinion. Thank you so much for the prayer and the blessing. I want to talk to you all today about sustaining your self-care. And I want to hop in because I want to make sure that I give enough time. And really, I'm trying to gather myself emotionally because I think we don't spend enough time stopping and pausing a minute to just gather ourselves and appreciate the moments of song, prayer, birds, rain, all those things that maybe sometimes fill us up and maybe sometimes we feel like they're taking away. But in the moment of just getting prepared for this and to hear the beautiful prayer and to hear the beautiful song and just the introduction, what a blessing it is for you all to be at Clinton College and in a place where they are pouring into you. Thank you, Dr. McCorn, for allowing your administration and for these students to be filled in a different way that not all institutions allow for that. So every Wednesday, what a blessing. So thank you for letting me be a part of this. I'm excited to talk about this priority number one is self-care. And you can go to the next slide. And what I want to say, I didn't choose one of the four because I thought that this four right here really can sum up how you're going to be able to move with scholarship, your leadership, your spirituality, and social change. And how you do that for me, in my own personal experience, is sustaining my self-care. And so these are core values that you have as an institution, but as students, you see yourself with these core values. And probably as student athletes and athletes or just students who are listening in faculty, we have these core values that we're trying to move towards every day. But the question is, how do you sustain the core values when you're not taking care of your self-care? You can go to the next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about defining self-care, and more of this is personal for me as I share with you how I do it and how I've defined it as a former two-sport athlete, a mom, a mother, a mom, a commissioner, moving in different spaces, feeling like you're being tugged all the time, but always wanting to do excellence and putting this pressure on what perfection looks like when there's really no perfection. It's just getting better every single day. And then the pathway of self-care and then practicing it. I think self-care and self-awareness works together. And I don't think you could have one without the other, because when you're taking care of yourself, you're very aware of those things that you need to do to take care of yourself. And your self-awareness allows you to understand when you're not taking care of yourself. And then how do you work together? How do you bring those together and the benefits? And then building your team to hold you tight. I was on a platform yesterday for the Hampton University's Sports Management Summit. And one of the platforms I was on was talking about mental health in athletics and mental health for student athletes and how as administrators have we managed. And for me, it has been more than taking care of student athletes. It's been our coaches taking care of themselves. It's been our faculty taking care of themselves and our families being taken care of so that we can pour into the young people that we work with every day. So self-care is important. You can advance. So I define self-care, and you can look these up as well, but they're essential. They're essential to who you are. They're essential to how you move, how you see, how you feel, how you navigate. And it's important to understand who you are as an individual self. I always tell people, we always get upset or we worry about other people, but a lot of times we have to look at ourselves. Self-reflection is so important so that we can identify what our own needs are before we start identifying what we think everybody else's needs are. As you see, there's a picture there. I do puzzles every year for Kwanzaa. I put them together, my family, and everybody who comes over here puts a piece of the puzzle together. And you've all probably heard demonstrations of what the puzzle represents. And to me, I say when I pour all those pieces out the box, it represents every piece and thread of myself. And as I put the puzzle together, I start to take care of myself, or I start to put the pieces together. It starts to get clearer. And when I get that last piece in, it feels like I've accomplished or I've completed something. And when you lose a piece of the puzzle, how crazy everybody feels when you can't find it. And you spend so much time on that one piece of puzzle that you forget about all the other pieces. And sometimes that happens in our regular life, our daily life, in our self-care, is that we focus on one thing, but we forget about the other parts that are important to all of us and who we are. And then the care is really the provision of what is necessary for our health, how we maintain that, how we protect ourselves. And for me, it's even creating boundaries to care for myself. Boundaries with people, boundaries with places, boundaries with activity, boundaries and things that I put in my body, and boundaries around the people I allow around my body. So caring is really that maintenance. And then the awareness is just the knowledge and understanding that something is happening and something exists. One of my favorite books that I've just read was Emotional Intelligence 2.0. My husband and my daughter, we've all read it, and we have our accountability partners in reading it. When we say your EQ's a little off today, the way that we speak or the way that we react or respond to a situation, but really holding each other accountable so that when what we do at home, we can also translate that behavior in our workplaces, but when we're friends and with our family. You can advance. So I say, and I tell this all the time, and I might have shared this the last time I was on this forum. I still attribute, the 20-20-20 rule. The first 20 years you're learning. That's the stage you're all in now. Some of us are in our earning the next 20 years, and then the next 20 years. I'm in this returning phase, but you never forget and you never let go of the learning and the earning stage. But as you are going through each of these stages, it's really important, and you learn through these stages what self-care means to you. It took me a long time to get in the returning stages to realize that there were things and behaviors that I had to let go, or there were people that I had to let go. I think late in my 20s, after playing sports, I think I hit a rock bottom point after playing and going to school, and then really dealing with issues from the past that I had never dealt with that kind of resurfaced for me. So learning during that time was, who am I and who do I want to be? I put your founders up here because you just had your Founders Day, but I often wonder, our founders of our institutions, as they have gone through these different stages and they're trying to identify the path for us in education or themselves as leaders, who were they saying that they were? And when you look at them as founders of your institutions, how do you identify them? And I'm sure they've identified who they are, but who am I in your learning state, in your earning? How do I earn? How do I earn enough to survive? How do I earn enough to take care of my family? What should I be doing? What's my passion? That's part of really the self-care of identifying who you want to be and how you want to do it. And then when you're returning, for me, is, why am I doing it? That whole purpose-driven life piece, the book that's called The Why has really helped me. Like, why do I want to be in college athletics and be a commissioner of a conference that has historical purpose and cultural relevance that impacts not just regionally, but nationally? Why do I want to be a part of an institution or a conference where we serve 3,000 student athletes and we get to watch them not just play the games they love, but also advance their career development, their mental health and wellness, and all those things that are important to them. So understanding their pathway of the learning, earning, and returning stage, I think, is critical. And again, every stage of that, I've learned something a lot about myself. And I can tell you, learning in my learning stages, again, just the way that I grew up. I was a military kid. We traveled every 3 to 4 years, never felt like we had stability, but was always, we always had what we needed. My parents are from Mississippi originally, spent my summers there, but lived in California, lived in Germany. And so just never really connected in one location of having friends in a community that I could hold on to. But when I learned older, is that a lot of those pieces that I grew up in, they still are a part of my life, and accepting that was okay to have that kind of life. But also, I grew up in a family with a very strict father who also dealt with alcoholism and mental abuse, which triggered into my college years, but athletics protected and helped me not have to deal with that. It's the pain that I dealt with after that in my earning years. When I got out on my own, was able to take care of myself a little bit. I think we always go back to our parents, but then learning how to take care of myself after college. There's no more coaches. There's nobody telling me what my schedule is, but then learning in these earning stages, how do I do this by myself? And then once you figure that, how do I mentally do this by myself? How do I get up and be disciplined enough to exercise and to eat well and to have the right friends around me. And then the same thing in the returning stage, going through a marriage, having a divorce, getting remarried later, years later, having a child, all those things will impact your self-care. And just having an understanding of that, I think, is critically important in balancing what that looks like for you. You can advance. So practicing self-awareness. And this is something I practice every day as a leader. It's so important to me. I was a psychology major undergrad. I wanted to be a psychologist, but chose to stay in sports and get my master's in sports management. But I've always been interested in group dynamics and how people move and operate, and how do you get people to perform in their best way. I coached for 4 years at Virginia Union, basketball and women's volleyball. And so being a part, and did compliance and governance in the administration side. And so group dynamics and how to get people to work and operate at their best has been important. But what's been really important for me is to understand my own emotions and not to carry everybody else's emotions. And that's why the practicing self-awareness is important. If you've been a codependent child or somebody who's codependent, it's very easy to attach yourself to others, but it's also very easy to feel like you can fix things or fix other people's problems. And I learned that's impossible. You can't fix everybody, and you can't fix everybody's problems. So the self-awareness piece, I think, it's critical. It's also the ability to monitor our inner and external world. It seems like the older I get, and the better I get at this, the less headaches, the less anxiety, the less emotional stress I feel by walking, exercising, and letting those things that I don't have control of. I would say as young people, start to learn how to practice those now. The beauty is that you're on a campus of faith and religion that reminds you that there's something bigger than yourself. So don't ever forget that. Don't ever lose that. Even when you lose school, even when you leave school and leave home. I grew up in matter of fact, April 1st was my born day, my giving my life to Christ day when I was 10 years old. And I've never forgotten that day and what that meant to me, and how the Spirit allowed me, or has followed me, and the angels and the prayers have really gotten me to this point. So don't ever forget those things that you've been brought up with that really help center you and keep you aware of those things that are important to your life. You can advance. So self-care and self-awareness, I believe they work together, and they work together to protect. And they help you with your voice. They help you with your identity and who you are. We do here in the CIAA, we have themed our emotional wellness, as I call it, is part of our mind, body, and soul. In your mind, just being aware of your thoughts. I think oftentimes we can think of the worst things that ever could happen. I went to the doctor the other day. They want me to come back. In my head, I'm like, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this, and it can be none of it. But I've allowed myself to get excited and maybe even upset for something that I don't have control of and something that I don't know. So our minds can take us a lot of different places. Somebody can look at you and you're just wondering why you think they're perceiving or thinking something about you. You might not pass a test, or you might not do something well, and then you start feeling bad about it. As I tell my daughter, did you give your best? And if you didn't, what will we do to do better the next time? Having control of your mind and thoughts are so critical to not go in places. I've been in those dark places. I've been in those places twice of wanting not to survive that day and get to the next day. And it's truly the grace of God that I'm sitting here in front of you today, that He allowed me to have another chance and another opportunity to tell my story, but also to breathe. And that's part of being aware of my mind and my thoughts. And I'll talk shortly here about how I'm able to sustain that because I can't do it by myself. The body, aware of your physical well-being. Every morning I wake up, I drink 8 to 10 ounces of water. I get 64 ounces of water. People don't like water. Water is very healthy for you. Not sodas, not all those other things. That just water yourself. I always tell when people are sick, did you drink enough water? Water's good for cleansing. So drink water. But I get up, my physical well-being is good. I try to walk 3 times a week. I try to get 45 minutes in, 10,000 steps. As a former athlete, you would think that I'd like to be in the gym. I absolutely do not like to be in the gym, but I do know the older you get, and even at your age, start building your strength now so that when you get older, your body can sustain some of the things that you will just never know that will happen. You twist your ankle back in the day. A twist ankle didn't mean anything. Now I'm limping, right? So just be aware of what you need to do to take care of your body. And when you don't take care of your mind, your body feels it. It really goes into those places that you just never know, headaches or stomach aches because of your thoughts and the fears that you might have. And then your soul, just being aware of your emotions. I mean, just again, I didn't expect listening to Nikisha this morning that I would feel that emotion that she brought on me, because I was just feeling this emotion of gratitude and thankfulness and how good God has been to me, and how this opportunity in this moment is really special to share a story, but even hoping that somebody leaves something out that I said today, that I bless somebody. You can advance. And the benefits of self-care and being self-aware, it keeps you grounded and focused, but it's practice. It's practice every day. I'm not saying I have this mastered, but I do practice to make sure that I am aware of what I'm feeling. When I'm angry or I feel like I'm getting upset, I get to the core of what that is. I no longer internalize, I vocalize, but I do it in a way that is healthy, and that it allows for conversation or dialogue to get to the outcome I want. I always say, if you have a problem or issue with something, and again, self-care, and you're holding on to it, you know, how you internalize that, how emotionally damaging that can be to someone. But when you can learn how to practice to share your voice, and you don't have to be an extrovert. I'm extremely introverted. People don't know that, but I am. But when I work and I have to get out, that's the gift God has given me, to be that person, to share voice and to advocate. But to do that, you've got to stay grounded, and you got to be focused, and you got to be prepared and know what those outcomes are. If you want to keep your scholarship, you got to work hard, right? If you want to be a servant leader, you got to be willing to serve. If you want to be spiritual, you got to spend time with God. And if you want to make social change, then you got to make sure that you have the change within you so that you can support the change on the external side for the people that you want. The worst thing you could ever see, I know people who always got advice to tell you what to do, but they don't ever do it themselves. But it's good for you, but it's not good for them. That's not how God works for us. He wants us to be consistent, and he wants us to have that change so that we can make change on his behalf. And then gives clarity. It also controls reactions and response. And it allows you to have and appreciate the moments. We are running so fast all the time. I would like, just in this moment, for all of you just to close your eyes. Put your hand on your heart. And I want you to take a deep breath in. Breathe out. Take another deep breath in. And breathe out. This time when you take a breathe in, I want you to feel that emotion. I want you to know where you are. And I want you to create that space for you to feel that emotion. Breathe in. Breathe out. I think if we did that every day, just take 30 seconds and pause, I think that would give us all an opportunity to really see ourselves and to appreciate that moment. If you're feeling sad, you're feeling angry, you're feeling disappointment, I think it will give you all an opportunity to just appreciate your self-care in the moment. Self-care to me is so critical because I want to survive and I want to be good for the people around me. Advance to the next slide. I have a self-awareness, self-care team. My faith, my pastor, small groups from my church, my family, my husband, my daughter, they give me breath and life. They remind me to put my phone down, and I remind them too, but to enjoy dinner, to go on vacation, to take walks, your mentors, your sponsors, your friends. Find those individuals. A young student asked me yesterday, how do you, if you don't want to go see a psychologist or a counselor, how do you stay up, or how do you manage that? You were not meant to be here alone and manage your self-care by yourself. You're responsible for your self-care, because nobody can tell you to get help, and we can advise you, but the choice is really yours. But I would tell you, in the moments that anytime, even now, when I'm feeling anxiety, I speak what it is, and I do it in a safe place with the people that I love, with no fear. I didn't always do that. I used to just keep it because I didn't want to be a burden. We are not burdens. We are blessings. And so allow people, you have no idea when you allow yourself to open up and be vulnerable to the people around, how much you bless them to be able to care for you. Next slide. So a couple of questions, and just you can take these. How do I take care of my mind, body, and soul? What am I doing that doesn't take care of my mind, body, and soul? And what would it be like to be in a consistent state of self-care and self-awareness in my personal and professional life? For me, it's functional. I feel like I'm in the most functional space I've ever been by going through therapy, by having a team, by owning my own destruction, or owning the challenges that I have created and seeing those as opportunities to get better, just growing every single day. Next slide. And self-assessment, self-care, self-awareness in the 2020. Just questions. Every now and then I pull these out. What has been consistently challenging in managing? How will you use the challenge and create opportunities? And how would you rate your self-care? I think our self-check and self-assessment, you should do that often. If you journal. If you're just sitting and you got a piece of paper, write things down, write your thoughts down, but get to a place where 2020, do you dream or visualize? Are you clear about your purpose? And write that down, write your mission down, because when you write your mission down, it really gives clarity about how you want to be and where you want to be. And it makes you take care of yourself if you want to get there. If you want to be the best runner in the world and break records, then you can't sit down and watch TV. You got to get up and you got to put in the exercise. You got to put in the work. So when you can visualize and dream the things that you want to do, you start taking care of those things that are most important for you and putting around boundaries of those things that are not. Next slide. And you can do it. I want to tell you, if I can do it, you can do it. I know I'm a commissioner, but titles are titles. I'm a human being. And what I've learned is the more kind I am to myself, the more kind I am to other people. And it has to be a priority for you. And you have to make the time and commitment to stop, take breaths and breathe, drink water, exercise, read, do those things that you enjoy, but also grind, do your work, do your craft and enjoy it. It's your lifeline. It's finding the best joy. Another book that I read last year, my favorite 2020 COVID book was, or 2021, we're in 22, 21 book is The Book of Joy by Desmond Tutu and Dalai Lama. Such an endearing book, great on Audible. And it also, you can do it because you need to guide your heart, your head, and your hands. Those three pieces right there is part of your self-care to move you in this journey that we don't know what tomorrow is going to be, but how will you use your heart and your head and hands today? But you're going to use them at the best when you take care of yourself. And as my daughter said to me, stop treating it as a responsibility, but it is your duty. Next slide. These are some books that I've read. I think I've shared some of them, some that have sustained me, some that I just enjoy, some that I pick up, books that I share. But these are great books. They're just great books to have on your shelf or to read or pick up every now and then. Last slide. And that's it. So thank you all for allowing me to share my self-care journey. I modified it a little bit, but self-care is very personal because I am a suicide survivor. I do believe that God has me here for a reason. I do believe that my position as a commissioner is much more than athletics. I think he's put me here to advocate and to advance Black and brown women in this industry to make sure that we are creating the best opportunities in higher education through sports, and to be the best mother and wife that I can be and daughter that I can be, and to be prepared for these types of forums to tell a story and hoping that somebody's life has been changed because of something that I said. So thank you all so much. I appreciate it.
Madam Commissioner, oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you. First of all, thank you for the shout outs to the introverts. We appreciate you.
Early.
Yeah, thank you for that. And thank you for being so transparent. You know, I think those of us that have been on this journey understand how scary it can be to be transparent, right? Because you're vulnerable. But you also recognize the liberation that comes
Oh, yeah.
with being honest and owning your story and dealing with all of this. I mean, you really, really blessed us. I have a bunch of questions, but I want other people to join the conversation. So those of you who are joining us, thank you for being with us. I hope that I know you've been blessed by what Commissioner McWilliams-Parker has shared with us. So if you have questions that are bubbling up inside you, please put those in the chat. We want you to be involved in this wonderful family conversation that we're having. And so I want to begin with the first question, which has to do with the difference between self-care and selfishness, right? And why so many people feel guilty about taking care of themselves, right? I mean, we are ridden with all of this guilt and shame, especially mothers. I can speak for this because I want to shout out to the sisters who give of themselves all the time and somehow feel guilty when they're taking care of themselves. Could you talk a little bit about that? It's your perspective as a mother and as a woman?
Yeah, you know, it's I think some of it is, you know, what we've seen and what we've watched growing up. And, you know, I watched my mom take care of everything, you know, because my dad traveled and she always prepared us to move. We had dinner every day at the same time. I had breakfast every day before I left for school, like not a day missed, like full breakfast, eggs, bacon, toast, option. Do you want grits or like?
My God.
She never missed a beat. And I think, you know, as we become career women or men, you know, there's this pressure to try to balance all of that. Like I wanted to be the best mother to my daughter as my mom was to me. But the reality is I travel. And so to leave and feel the guilt, like, oh my gosh, so then I'm doing all these things. I sometimes feel good, like, what we eating for dinner tonight? Like my mom already knew, right? So I'm stressed out about what's for dinner. My family is okay. I think it's that piece where we don't want to disappoint the people around us. And I think it's the pressure of not a failing. Like, I don't want to be a failed mother. I don't want to be a failed commissioner. I want to be able to do it all. And the reality is we're not meant to do it all. Number one, there's only so much time of the day. And so the selfishness is, you know, it's okay for me to get a spa day if I want to and not feel guilty. It's okay for me not to cook dinner and go order something, right? It's okay that y'all need to get your own dinner because I'm not doing anything. But that's practice too.
Yeah.
And you have to practice the behaviors that, and again, even if I commit to say, you know, I'm going to do this on Monday, Tuesdays at home, but you all know when I'm on this pendulum, everybody's got to do their part. So in our family, we all know, everybody knows everybody's role. And that for me is articulating what I need for support. That's why that support group is so important, because my family could say, it's okay that you go take a walk. You can be selfish, right? They give me permission. And sometimes you need people to give you permission because you won't give yourself permission, like stopping and taking a breath, right? Who has given us a permission? We have permission to do it, but we don't do it. And so I think it's really learning how to allow yourself to be okay with, you can take care of this responsibility and this one, but you're your best responsibility first.
Yeah. Oh, that's good stuff. Good stuff. So I was really struck by, first of all, the way that you were able to put together the professional and the personal, right? I think people make mistakes when they divorce their lives. like, they don't bring their whole selves to the job.
Mm-hmm.
You are who you are. I mean, your full authentic self. And so when you start talking about emotional intelligence, and I want to push you a little more on that, to talk about that, because I think that that is one of the greatest attributes that a leader can have. And I want our students to hear you talk about emotional intelligence, because often we have been led to believe that IQ is the most important, right? Especially in an educational institution,
Yeah.
you got to get all A's or try to compete with your classmates and show your mastery of the knowledge. But
Mm-hmm.
we don't spend as much time on developing, you talked about self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Could you say a little bit more about how that fits into our self-care?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I read that book. And part of it, my husband's in leadership too. And he has his staff reading. It will be our summer read for my staff too. And I've been saying it for years, even in trying to build a culture in my office of vulnerability, team support. We can have challenges and disagree, but those challenges don't mean that it's conflict. It just means that we just need to figure out a resolve to get to the end goal. Like, what do we want the outcome? And what I've noticed, particularly with some of our young professionals, is when you don't have a lot of experience in dealing with conflict management, you react quicker than you respond. So, but even if you're young, I mean, if what I know, and being an athlete is probably the best place in dynamics and teams of liking and not liking your coach and your teammates, where emotional intelligence is real important if you want to win games, right? You got to know the players on the team. You got to understand the strengths of individuals. And when people make mistakes, you can't have that only mistake feel like that's why the game was lost. And so for me, the emotional intelligence side is you can be so good at your craft and checking boxes, but you forget about the human side of people. You don't value that they may not have the experience, or they may have they may be having self-care mental issues that you don't even know, and they're not aware, they don't even know how to articulate it. So for me, it's really having some empathy, and being more, if you want to say, patient with people and not making assumptions. We make a lot of assumptions about people, places, and things when they don't happen in the way that we want them to happen. And having emotional intelligence allows you to step back and say, well, giving them an opportunity. Now, if you mess up 10 and 15 times, that's one thing. But I think with our own experiences, we react and respond to situations that could be damaging to other people. So for me, I always think about just being kind. My emotional intelligence is, how do I keep loving when there's differences, right? How do I keep loving you when there's differences? How do I be intentional about knowing you more than what I just see? How do I, instead of going into that negative energy and dealing with naysayers, how do I deal with those things that are positive, that can, whatever that naysayer is, I can change that to something good? And then Dr. McCorn, I always say the D is the dance, right? My emotional intelligence is, you can get on me, but I'm gonna play that song to remind me that you don't have any control of any of this. So really finding spaces to control your behavior, your temperament. But I'm not saying that you lay down. I'm saying you learn how to advance yourself and advocate and have voice at the table where you can be heard and not shut down. And it's hard, particularly when you're people of color, and and you're the only one, right? And then I'm the only one with natural kinky hair, right? So you're having to get used to a woman who's only one in leadership that doesn't look like what you think a Black woman should look like, and still have to advocate and have voice and not act a fool at the table because you said something that was right. So that's EQ, learning how to know your environment and how do you manage that environment to get the best of what you want out of the outcome.
Oh, that's strong.
Oh,
we're gonna bring Dr. Brown up in just a moment. I want to ask one question before we get to her, and I want to press you on the sports piece, right? Because I'm a sports fanatic, right? So coming up, I can honestly say that one of my saving graces was playing sports, and I probably would not be the leader that I am, or at least try to be, had I not had experience in sports. I mean, it saved me from the streets. It saved me from homelessness. I mean, all the stuff that I was going through, sports, playing in sports helped me. And so as you were talking, I was thinking about the connection with self-care in sports, and certainly emotional intelligence and all of that. Could you talk a little bit more? Because I think about the role that coaches play, right? And there's nothing like, kind of like that best teacher you ever had in school. You never forget that teacher. Same thing about coaches, right? They're mentors and sometimes they're parents.
Yeah.
But we also know the flip side is a bad coach or a bad teacher can have such a negative impact. Talk a little bit about the role that athletics plays in helping us to develop into our best selves.
Oh, I love that, because sports saved my life. And again, if it wasn't for sport that allowed me to be a part of a community, and I've had those bad and good coaches, right? I've had coaches who, you're trying to build up somebody's self-esteem. And boy, I felt like I lost everything that I knew about myself because of one thing a coach said. And mind you, I grew up in a mentally abusive home. And so to know how important the game was to me and how I had to stay focused on how do I just stay on the team? How do I get to play and deal maybe with some of that abuse? And learn how to tune it out, because I learned how to tune it out when I was a kid. But it just built still strength and character for me. There's something about sports, and when coaches, I think when you hire coaches and making sure, and we were just saying this yesterday on this panel, sometimes we have to do a deeper dive with our coaches that we hire to make sure that they fit in the culture of what we're trying to create. Because I've coached. When you coach, you turn into something else. It could be something else good or something else bad. And you want a balance of that, because we have the greatest opportunity to advance the minds, the body, and the spirits of young people. And I remember when I recruited, and I said, I might not win a national championship, but I'm going to bring your young lady here, and we're going to evolve her to be that amazing woman to graduate from Virginia Union. She's going to play the game and love it. We're going to build her up as best as we can. And if she act crazy, I'm calling you so you can pick her up. So you stay over there and let me hear. And you take on that responsibility, because sport has saved a lot of our lives. Particularly people of color who are trying to get out and need a way out, or need something to make them feel better about themselves, your body image, and for me playing, I may not been like the prettiest girl, and the boys may not have liked me, but when I got on that court, I was a baller. There was nothing you could say anything about. You could say, other things, but when I got on that court, I owned what I could do on the basket. And I used it to move me to get a degree, to move me to get my master's, to get postgraduate scholarships. That's why the scholarship thing, people are always constantly watching you, right? And sports has the visibility, and coaches have visibility too. And so when you do well or not well, people know, and how they want to advance you because of what they see. The opportunity is there. It's just, how do you use it?
Indeed. Great. We're going to bring Dr. Angelyn Brown back on. I think she's got a question for you.
All right. Hey, Commish. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful words of wisdom. So what advice would you give our students who feel overwhelmed, trying to balance school, life, and just what you talked about, expectations? And Prez already opened up the other question I had in reference to just how important sports and how valuable, that whole element is. So I'm glad you touched on that. But yeah, if you just share, some of those life lessons.
Yeah. So I would say to you, so I'll tell you, my freshman year, I almost got sent home by my coach. And I was a walk-on. I wanted to go to Hampton. I didn't want to go to any other school that recruited me. I was going to Hampton University. We didn't have cell phones or nothing. My principal called the school. I went to the encyclopedia, found Hampton, and I was like, I'm going there. My parents didn't even drive me. They put me on a plane, had never seen the campus ever. All I said was,
Wow.
if you give me an opportunity to go there, I will try out for the team. And if I make it and I get a scholarship, and if I don't, then I'll coach. Because like we couldn't afford to go to Hampton. So my parents got loans. They took the chance to let me go to Hampton. I got a scholarship. But my first semester, Coach Sweat said, little Jack, there was 3 Jackies on the team. He said, I'm looking at these grades and you about to go home. And I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute. The first thing that happened was I was on my own. I was away from my parents. And my parents, I was but I was really close to my mom. But when I left, and I was used to moving, mind you, I moved every 3 years and we lived in Germany and I got new friends, but I wasn't prepared. I wasn't disciplined enough to manage playing on a basketball team, getting up to go to class, right? And then all the other things, travel, that to me, and I was a 2-sport athlete. So my freshman year, I had a few Fs, I had to carry 12 hours and my coach pulled me in and said, you're going to go home. You can't stay. And I said, Coach, I can't go home. Like, tell me what I need to do. And I promise I'll do whatever I need to do to get myself a walk on. Right. So we looked at our classes to see what I could do to manage to get through that semester. And I did. This is the thing I would say. Once you do real bad, it's hard to get them grades back, them GPAs up. Yeah. So I encourage you, one, to prioritize what's important. Playing basketball was important, but then when I got on campus, partying with the people who weren't athletes and everything else seemed like much more fun than that.
Right.
And I got caught up. Don't get caught up with things. That's when I say create those boundaries. Create your mission of where you want to go and what you want to do. And anything that does not allow for that, it doesn't belong. A party doesn't belong on the night before you have a game. A party doesn't belong when you have a test the next day and staying up all night. Finding that rhythm of discipline is just critically important. And I learned the hard way. I literally almost went home. And then I gained 20 pounds my freshman year. And when I came back that December, I was so serious about graduating from Hampton and getting my grades back up so that I can graduate on time. Nobody ever had to say anything. Sometimes it takes some of that to get you to understand you can't do it all. So know what's important. I also tell my staff, even myself, I've learned how to brain dump. When I have all these things I think I need to get done, I write them in my phone. I check a list of everything. I need to go to the store. I need to call the president. I need to do all of this. Then what I do is prioritize, like, really, what do you have to do now and what can you do later? Brain dump. Because once you do that, then you'll realize that all those other 60 things, they don't even matter at the end of the day. They don't matter. You just added it because it's in your head, your mind. Your mind is telling you you have so much to do. But when you write it down and journal it, you realize you have this to do. You can get done today. You could do this. My daughter is a master with her schedule. She's 16. I don't know. I wish I follow her. She does yoga. She meditates. She has her list. She has her chalkboard of what she's going to do and not do. She manages her friend, and she's 16 doing that. I wish I knew at that age to do that.
Right.
Yeah. Good. Obviously, you've been a good example for her. So that's wonderful. I love when you talked about having a self-care team. Oh my God. Right. I mean, how many of us, when you look at, for instance, and again, I want to keep using the student athlete piece, right? Because many of our athletes look at the superstars and they see their entourage, and it's like, we want to have, people who adore us and will be at our beck and call and, have 1 million Instagram followers. But really the most important thing is to have a group of people around here who really got your back, who are down for you, like 4 flat tires, but also can hold you accountable. I mean, that was so powerful. And I hope that our students heard that, because at this stage of their lives, they want peers that they can impress and vice versa, right? Exactly. And having a self-care team is just so important. And I just want to thank you for sharing that idea with us today.
Yeah, your self-care team cannot be people who are takers.
Yep.
Because that ain't no self-care. When they're constantly taking and never give anything back. So be aware of who that self-care team, and be very very bullish about who you want to be. Everybody can't and wants to. Like, I got friends like, why don't you call me? No, you can't. You don't know. I love you, but some of them take more than they give.
Yes.
You've got to be very intentional. And again, it was probably last year or in COVID, I just woke up and felt dark, extremely dark. And I said, God, I don't ever want to be in that space. So I prayed, but I also texted my group chat, I need to talk, or and my husband, he's aware too, but I need you to know that I'm in this dark place. And so they're constantly checking on me. They know, everybody knows where to come in, and it may be a call, it may be a note, but you've got to have it. You got to have it.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
That's good stuff. Well, you are all in our Kool-Aid, as we say. This is so on point because we are moving in a very definitive direction around health and wellness. You heard earlier, those viewers didn't hear our conversation about our new medical clinic, right?
Yeah.
But we're spending time talking about how important it is for us to be healthy. And that includes our mental health, right? Our spiritual health, our soul care and self-care. This is just such good stuff. Listen, Commissioner, I wish we had a whole nother hour, but you have really, really blessed us today. I want to encourage our listeners to share this with your friends on YouTube and Facebook. Make sure people go back and watch this. This is such a blessing. And Commissioner, you have kept up with us. This is your second time being at Clinton. So you really are part of our family now. So you have a standing invitation to come back again and again and again, especially if you're going to bless us like this.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Anytime. I hope I come in person next time.
Yes, we want that to happen. Yeah. Dr. Brown, thank you. She's our direct line to you. So thank you, Dr. Brown, for that connect and keeping her looped into the Clinton family. To all of the folks who have watched us today, thank you for sharing with us. And we pray that you have been as blessed as certainly I have, and that you will apply these principles to your lives. We're now going to wrap up by going to our alma mater and announcements. Thank you again. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
Again, we want to say thank you so much to Commissioner McWilliams. Our announcements would include our virtual career fair, which is going to be on April 18th at 7:00 p.m. Please make sure you register for that. Again, you'll need that registration in order to participate in our upcoming virtual career fair. So we need you to sign up for the career fair preparation workshop. I also want to encourage, if you have not already done so, please make sure you are completing your registration process to come back in the fall. Housing will be limited. I want to say that to our students as we anticipate a very large number of new students coming to campus. So we want to make sure that you go ahead and sign up for housing. That will be vitally important. Also, Mr. Bush will be having a program over at Marshall Hall, and he'll be sending out information about that as well. So again, thank you to each of you for joining us today on Beacon Forum. Have a blessed week.